Hey everyone, thanks for coming back and listening to our second episode of The Marketers Next Door, where we cover topics around marketing for small to mid-sized businesses that drives real results. I'm Jen, and we have John here with us today as well.
Hey guys.
So we are going to jump into our second topic, which we're really excited to talk to you guys about, which is establishing trust with working with new clients. So in the past, BMG has been very exclusive to a certain number of clients that the owner of BMG also owns. And we're really excited to kind of jump out and get some new partners. And with that, we want to make sure that we can establish trust with the new client, maybe yourself, as well as us, everyone on our team. That way we can get the best results possible. So there's a couple things that go into establishing trust. So we're going to talk a little bit in depth about both of them. And I think we might even run into a kind of part 2, episode 3 for this topic. Just there's so much good stuff to talk about, and we want to make sure we hit it all.
Yep.
So First, in establishing trust with our clients, the biggest important part is to identify the current pain points that they're having and make sure that we're aligned so that we can understand the pain points and help them out. Right, John?
Yeah. I think one of the most important things is really trying to understand what they do, who they are, why they do it, and then who their customers are. Because obviously, if you're able to understand their why, how they do things, and what they do, and who their customers are, you'll be able to understand like where that gap is for their customers, right? So let's say they've had steady growth for like the past 5 years, and all of a sudden like, hey, we just hit a wall. We're not really growing anymore. It's just repeat business. We're not getting new clients. That's an opportunity for us to go, okay, where's the gap, right?
Yeah, huge opportunity.
What are you not positioning yourself as that is going to attract new customers, right? Or maybe what's not retaining customers, right? So like you might have a drop off in customers because you're not understanding their pain points. You had a solution, you had a service, and it worked great, but customers' needs have evolved, and you haven't evolved with them. So there's a ton, and those are just a couple examples. There's a ton of examples that might come through, but really what it is having a conversation with the executive team, the sales team, the marketing team, like you're understanding your product, understanding your service, and then taking a deep dive into your customers, and looking at the data. Because there's gonna be so much that comes out of that you can say, okay, you've been so attached to this product or solution or service that you haven't been able to look outside. You haven't been able to look and really audit what's going on. Here's what's going on, right?
And I think now, to the point of data, there's so much more data than there used to be on anything and everything out there that marketers can use to help effectively market the customer's product or service, right? So when you thought about your product or service, maybe when you started your company, you thought you understood the needs of people. Like you said, people have evolved. This could have been 10, 20, 30 years ago when you thought you knew what this need was. It's definitely changed since then. And now with the internet, we have all the data to be able to figure out, is that pain point still accurate, or do we need to kind of look at it from a different perspective? Do we need to do customer research, reach out to your clients and actually ask them the question of what their pain points are? Because sometimes it might be something you haven't thought of.
Right, totally. And actually, like with any product, any good service, you probably grow both, right? You're launching new products, you're launching new services because your customers' needs change. But if you're not able to do that, you probably don't have a good grasp on what your customers' daily lives are involving, right? So really, like I said, it's having an in-depth conversation with the executives, the sales team, the marketing team, taking a deep dive into your products and services, and then also looking at the data that you're getting. Hopefully, you're gathering. A lot of small business. That's another issue actually that we should probably talk about. Is a lot of small businesses don't have the data. Yeah. And so they don't know what's going on, right? They think their intuition, their gut feelings, what the sales team is telling them is enough to understand what their customers' needs are. But in reality, it's not. Like the customer journey is so expansive nowadays. If you think that their customer journey is just your sales team talking to a customer and understanding the pain point, you're looking at a small sliver of the pie, right? You got to think about what people are searching online. How are they problem solving? How are they self-educating? What competitors is that leading them to, right? Because if you're not positioning yourself to understand what top of funnel searchers are looking at, you're not going to come up as an option. So
you could be here and your competitor is way ahead of you up here just because they've thought about the new pain points the customer might have.
And your product or service might be 1,000,000 times better.
Yep.
But you didn't position yourself correctly. So
I think too with 2020 gave a lot of companies kind of, a kick in the ass, if you will, to really evaluate their product and service and to survive the current climate of the world. And I think, some people may have needed that little push to kind of be innovative and keep growing and scaling their companies. So definitely an interesting time.
Yeah. 2020. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. A lot of people were able to adapt and evolve pretty rapidly. With our clients, for example, one of our clients is in the event space. A live events completely shut down, right? And so luckily we were able to have conversations with the lead, who is not, sorry, I want to preface by this company is not one of Matt's businesses. So this is actually one of our outside clients.
Yes.
Like Jen said, we want to take on more, but this is a good example of someone who is actually not closely related to us. So having that relationship and rapport with the leadership team and working with them to identify the current pain points, right? The current pain point was live events aren't happening, right? People still want to have events. People still want to market. People still want to launch their products. They still want to have networking events. So we had to figure out a way to do that. Now, luckily the industry is so big, everyone kind of just jumped on Zoom, right? From there, we were able to kind of, we were able to learn quite a bit. Like, well, what can we make unique through Zoom? What can we do something? Can we do anything different? So a lot of things popped up, but we were able to be a trailblazer in the industry at the same pace as everyone else. And so it was really good. Like what I want to reiterate is we had to be able to talk to the leadership team, the owners and the sales director to really understand what their pain points are so that as marketers, we can come up with creative solutions that actually will drive results.
And if that trust isn't there, with the client, that it makes it that much harder, like to understand what the pain points are and really make recommendations to kind of, in that situation, completely pivot like the business model, the marketing strategy, and everything else that goes into it. So I definitely got to say,
changed.
There's a lot of trust in that client, and I love it.
Yes, yeah, definitely. They're a great client. Love it.
Yeah. So I think that segues really well into kind of establishing goals because with 2020 and the way everything went, a lot of companies, including the clients we work with, had to reevaluate their yearly goal. And that also went into what is their goal for 2021, which is something, we've had to deal with and help each of our clients kind of adjust and say, okay, well, let's look at the data. Again, bringing it back to the data. Let's look at the data that we have and try to, figure out with that where we should have been, where we got to, and that's how we can determine what goals we want to establish for the coming year. And I think communicating those goals with your marketing team or your agency partner or whoever you might have is so important that everyone's on the same page with their goals.
Totally. Yes. A misalignment in goals can be actually catastrophic, right?
Yeah.
Kind of mentioned that on the first episode about my past. A misalignment in goals, or maybe not having goals, or trying to create a marketing solution first and then not really having a goal to attach it to. All these things are really dangerous, right? You need to, like Jen said, you really need to understand what the goals are, and maybe the client will know what their goals are, but maybe the marketing team also needs to look at the data and say, here are some short-term goals we should go for. Here's some long-term goals we should go for, right? In 2020, it was like short-term, because we needed that revenue, right? Everyone needs to survive. And that's okay. But actually, a lot of it kind of played into a long-term plan. And now some of those things that we started off are going to be forever tasks and projects that we do for our clients.
Exactly. Because bringing it back to the pain points, new pain points developed that you also have to incorporate into your strategy based upon the goals. And that always says work in reverse. Well, to work in reverse, you have to start from a higher goal in order to go backwards to figure out your plan.
Totally. A strategy is worthless unless first of all, if you execute on it, you have to execute on it. But a strategy is worthless unless it's a goal, right?
Yeah.
If you just say, yeah, like, it'd be cool if we just started doing a podcast, but there's no end goal. Why are you doing it, right? What's the intent behind it? What's the goal behind it? And having that conversation with your client, or with your agency, that's super important. That both parties are aligned and know what you are aiming to get. If you don't know what you're aiming for, everyone's running with their heads cut off, and it's just dangerous. so definitely a big factor in establishing trust.
So I think we talked a little bit about this kind of before we started jumping into this episode, but kind of what do you do when you have a misalignment in those goals, and what do you do to kind of overcome that? And I guess one thing we call that is pitching value. So this whole podcast in itself is a great example of bringing the alignment together and pitching that value. So I want to have John kind of tell you guys what our pitch for value is in this scenario. It's really interesting. There definitely was some misalignment in kind of leadership and, what the goals were and how we were going to achieve those goals. But, in the end, we came to an agreement and pitched this value. Go.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, no, I'm just kidding. I would never start that way. Yeah. So basically, as Jen mentioned at the beginning, BMG is finally opening up to exclusive clients, right? And so there's a couple ways to get leads, right? You can run ads, you can cold call people, you can ask for your friends, you can start social media. The list goes on and on. And so, we had a conversation or two about running ads, and I was against it. And my reason for being against it is that it costs money, and an ad is only 30 seconds to a minute long. If you can effectively tell or win a retainer-based client or a partnership type client by running a 30-second ad or a minute ad and getting a conversion on that, then I'm a crappy marketer. If you know how to do that, that's awesome. I don't know how to do that. I don't think
this industry would be as big as it is if that was an option.
Yeah, that would be, that would be incredible. But to sell courses, to sell, templates, yeah, for sure. But that's not who we are as a marketing agency. So I said, Matt, the value behind creating a podcast, a video series podcast, is one, we now have organic content we can post on every single social media platform on our website that lives forever. That is not only topical, but it's also relevant to our potential clients and people who we want to work with, right? And it's free. The only money that is cost is my time and Jen's time, which that's okay. We're willing to take that investment. But to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to run an ad that is instant, that needs to catch someone's attention in a feed, that we're going to get charged on each impression, maybe a click. And then they may not want to work with the partnership right then and there. They might want it in a year. Well, we have to sustain that advertisement to stay top of mind. But if you start creating organic content and you post it on a regular basis and you're talking about relevant problems for our potential clients, we will eventually attract the right client, the right person, right? And they're going to know who we are. They're going to like, hopefully they'll know who we are, they'll like us, and they'll trust us. So when they are ready to make a decision, we are top of mind already because they've been listening to our content already. So the value is don't spend money don't spend money not getting leads. Invest your time and money in creating content that is important for your customers that will, one, win the customer, or maybe that person will share it with a friend and we can win that customer. So that's the pitch of value. And we eventually came to agreement. We came to agreement. We are going to run Google ads.
Yes.
Because there's buyer's intent there. Okay. But to run a video campaign, and selling some overpromise, like I'm a guru, just follow me. All you have to do is these 5 things and you're going to get 1,000x growth in revenue. I call BS. Okay. So, that's not something Jen and I do.
No.
We are not that kind of agency. we're
we get the results. We get the results because there's no point in doing what we're doing unless we can prove that. But it's not by 5 easy steps that anyone can do.
No. If you want to follow some out of the box strategy, go to YouTube and say, how do I market for small business? There's going to be a million videos and they're going to give you 10 things you got to do. And then when you do those 10 things and you don't get the results, you can come call us. It's fine.
We'll be here. It's cool.
We'll be right here. So that's kind of that. But yeah, the whole part about aligning with your leadership, and this is important for us too. If the leadership team doesn't understand the value of marketing, or maybe puts it on the back burner, this is probably not a good partnership, right?
Yeah,
like Jen
totally.
said, we don't want to be swimming upstream just to convince you that this might work. Now, if there's trust and you understand what we're trying to achieve, and we tell you what the goals are, and then what the potential results are going to be, well, now we can execute on things. We're not hitting roadblocks. We're just able to execute. And then once we get the results, we can analyze them and make necessary pivots and keep growing that revenue stream. So it's really important to align with your clients.
Marketing works. It's not, there's no big secret to it.
Right. It wouldn't be this massive $1 billion industry if it didn't work.
So if you need to be convinced that it works, go do some research. Call us when you're convinced, because we're not going to do the convincing for you. It friggin' works. Yes, exactly. We got case studies on our website. Check them out. Yeah. The data's there. So, with that, in order to get those numbers and really prove the work, the ROI behind it and everything like that, you have to have great ways to report, access to the information and the data to create the reports that ultimately lead to the KPIs that are set for any marketing campaigns, initiatives that a company may run. We've talked about branding as kind of its own separate budget. That's really hard to measure and to actually tie revenue to any sort of branding campaign. But when you have social ads, organic content marketing, email marketing, Google ads, all of these different efforts can easily be tracked if you have the right processes and tools in place. And then, I think for BMG, we typically look at it on a monthly basis. You have your monthly KPIs, your quarterly KPIs, and then your overall yearly goal and the KPIs for the year. So, right. We've worked with a lot of our clients to either set that up or jump in and kind of improve upon it from there. But John's favorite thing in the world, we all know, KPIs.
Love them.
They're important. They really are. Talk to any marketing agency and they will be talking to you about KPIs. If you don't like KPIs, pick a different name for them, but we will talk to you about them and we will help set them for you.
Yeah. Matt hates the word KPIs. Every time I say, what's the KPI? He just goes, damn it, Johnny. Why'd you bring that up? But it's really important. It's really important.
Hey, John, what does KPI stand for?
Key performance indicators. Thank you very much.
There you go.
There's also OKRs, objective key results. There's a ton of things. The marketing world is full of acronyms that I don't even know all of them.
I think we have a whole glossary of acronyms that we created for ourselves.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, we do. I remember that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So we could speak intelligently.
Matt's least favorite piece of content.
Yeah. If you are talking to an agency and they don't mention KPIs, you need to run in the other direction. Okay. It may be something that's seriously. Even if it hurts to talk about KPIs, if you're not establishing KPIs and tracking against those, you're literally a shot in the dark, which is kind of like what my past experience was. And you want to avoid that at all costs, right? It's really important to say, here's what we're expecting. Here's where we are. Here's some data to say this is what we should probably change. And so you can make those adjustments so that you are actually tracking towards those goals and hopefully exceeding them. For our case, luckily we've been exceeding all of our goals, which is great. But there might be some times where you might fail, we might fail. But like Jen said in the first episode, those are great opportunities to learn from, right? That's something that at BMG, that's the core of who we are.
Yeah.
Is even if we had a great project that was a total disaster. It was called
Project Jedi.
Yeah, that was a total disaster. But we learned a lot from it, right? So it's really important to, like I said, first of all, have accurate reporting. That's really important too. If your reporting is not accurate, then you might as well just be going off your gut reaction. But if you have accurate reporting and you can track those against your KPIs, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be working with a marketing agency. Because so basically a really good agency will be able to establish those KPIs for you if you don't already have your KPIs, right? And maybe you might have your KPIs, but your agency needs to understand those KPIs and work through those, right? If your agency is going, what about this type of KPI? That's also very dangerous, because that means they might not truly understand your product or service, and they're misaligning with your goals as a business owner or as a CMO or as a CFO or a CRO, whatever position you're in. But if you're working with an agency and you're saying, here's our KPIs, and they go, well, what about these KPIs? That might be something that is because that's really what they're good at, right? That might be like their core service. Hey, we're just good at this, and that's okay. But if you don't need that, make sure you keep that in mind when you're gonna pull the trigger on an agency. Like, hey, we're actually good in the content marketing side. We really just need paid. And so if they're saying, hey, we should look at like organic traffic and like set all these KPIs, like they're not understanding your goals. Oh, I know what I want to say. You mentioned branding, right? And it is really hard to measure. And I'm going off on a tangent, but I think this is kind of interesting. Is it has been always this thing that you throw money at and you may not get a return, and that's probably still accurate. But there are indicators that show that it is working, right? And we've seen it with a couple of our clients actually. South Pizzeria, Solar Art, and Clarity have all seen this. What we're doing is we're creating valuable content that is relatable and relevant to our customers, whether or not actually just the industries that they're in. They may not even be customers. So what you'll see is an increase in direct traffic or branded keyword searches, right? So to potentially track that and report revenue on branded campaigns is run a branded keyword campaign on Google Ads. And that means someone knows who you are, right? If you're only going to show up on that ad if someone's searching BMG Marketing, that means they came across your content somewhere else, someone told them about you. But it's definitely a branded type campaign, right? You're able to track that revenue. If you see an increase in direct traffic, that means someone knows who you are. They're just typing in your domain, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are definitely indicators that your branding is working. To tie revenue back to it is kind of tough, but at least you can see that it's working, right? You'll see a result. So that is a possibility.
One thing that I wanted to mention that, we've said a couple times, like, our exclusive kind of bubble of clients that we have. The reason I think, we're calling it exclusive is because with BMG, we like to get very ingrained into the business and really understand the business goals overall and not just the marketing goals. And you can't do that without trust. Just kind of bringing it back to the overall topic is, letting an agency or a partner or a few people into your world that, your business as an owner is your life. It's your world. It's your baby. Like, it's one of the things you care about most. And you have to have trust to let people in to understand the goals of your business. There's, sensitive information, financial information, stuff like that. But what we've seen is having that information and understanding it really helps us as an agency partner be able to provide valuable content marketing for you, set the right KPIs, understand your goals, and do what we need to do to get to them. So bringing it back to trust, it's all about establishing trust. We want you to trust us as your partner, and we want to trust you as a client. If we don't, see you later. Probably won't work out.
Probably not.
No. Yeah. So, trust, big deal. Very important to BMG. We hope it's important to you. We have a lot more to talk about around trust, specifically with working with the different leadership teams and executives that our clients have. So we're going to wrap this episode up real quick and come back with you for a third episode talking about working with leadership and executives.
See you guys.
Thanks.